Good evening, everyone. It is 6 o'clock, and it is the allotted time for our July monthly meeting of the Davie County Board of Commissioners. We thank you all for attending this evening. Before we really get started, I'm going to ask our Fire Marshal, Cameron Webb, to come forward. He just wants to make sure everyone is aware of some safety items tonight.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can everybody hear me okay in the back? Guys, with it being a different facility and not our normal meeting, just want to go over a couple things. So, and just raise your hand if you don't understand. In the event of an emergency, a fire alarm, something happens, everybody up here in this pod needs to exit out this exit door right here. Everybody in the top right needs to exit out this way and out to the egress. And everybody sitting right here near me just needs to go straight back, nice and orderly. We just want to go over that. Since it's a new facility, different facility that we're not used to. Anybody have any questions? Outstanding. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much. Before we get started, I want to give a special thank you to Dr. Belcher and to Clay Harris and the whole Davie County Board of Education and Davie County High School for allowing us to use this facility so that you all would be able to attend, as our regular facility would not hold you. I would ask you in return that when you leave here tonight that you are sure that you take anything outside that you brought inside so that they're not having to clean up after us, and that we show this building respect and show them respect for allowing us to use it. Also, please keep in mind this is our monthly business meeting. I know you all are very passionate about the subject that's being discussed here tonight, but this is not a pep rally and this is not a sporting event. This is a business meeting, and we do expect the decorum to be followed. We want to hear from you, otherwise we would not be here. But if you are abusive or negative or attacking us in any way, you will be asked to sit down. If you are really acting up and out of decorum, you will be asked to leave and you will be removed from the building. I don't think we'll have that problem, but if we do, the sheriff's office will assist you outside. We just want to show we want to be respectful to you all, you respectful to us. We want to show Davie County love and respect in this meeting tonight. So I'll thank you if you would abide by that request. So at this time, I'm going to open our meeting with our invocation. So if you would please pray with me. Dear Lord, I just thank you so much for allowing us to live in this wonderful county that we call home, in this wonderful country that we call home, and that we are so blessed to be here, and that we have the freedom to gather and express our feelings as we are here tonight. Most of all, Lord, I thank you for the salvation that you have given us through Jesus. And Lord, I just pray that tonight there will be peace, clarity, and grace cast upon everyone in this building. And Lord, we just pray that your will be done. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. So this past weekend, we celebrated the 250th anniversary of our country. There were a lot of celebrations across our county, the Coolamy Parade, Moxville opened a time capsule, Kenderton, Oak Valley, and other communities observed celebrations. There were people cooling off at the Bull Hole and sweating at the concert and the ball game, but we celebrated well. In honor of that, I would ask that you please stand as we welcome the Davie County Sheriff's Department Honor Guard to present our flags. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Tonight we have a relatively short agenda because we wanted to give the time to you to share with us tonight. So our primary item, of course, is the consideration of a moratorium on data center development within the jurisdiction administered by the Davie County Board of Commissioners. Once we reach that portion of the agenda, we will outline a few of the procedures. Before I turn it over to our county attorney to do our ethics and conflicts disclosure, I do want to let you know the public comment period is a time where you can speak on any subject that you would like to share with us about Davie County. If you had signed up for that portion, but you are here to speak about the data center moratorium part of our meeting, you may simply decline to speak at the beginning part, and we will add you to the public hearing part. So I know there was a little confusion about which list to sign up for, but we'll make sure that that's clarified as we go along. But at the public comment period, if you would like to speak on anything other than the data center moratorium, that would be the time for you to speak. At this time, I will turn it over to Ed Vogler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Pursuant to North Carolina General Statutes 160A-86 and the Davie County Board of Commissioners Code of Ethics adopted December the 2nd, 2019, I'd ask each of you before you adopt the agenda tonight if there's any actual, potential, or perceived conflicts of interest with respect to any matter on the proposed agenda which will come before you tonight for a vote. If so, please speak up and let the board know at this time before the agenda is adopted. Seeing no one speak up, I conclude there's no actual, potential, or perceived conflicts of interest by any board member. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vogler. So at this time, we will adopt the agenda. I would entertain a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Commissioner Jones, do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Schoaf, any discussion or conversation before? Okay, all in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. So it is now the public comment period, and as I said, if you would like to speak on anything other than the public hearing subject, this would be your time. Mr. Vogler.
Before we have you come forward, I will read for you the public comment period rules. Each person desiring to speak before the public comment shall sign up on the sign-up sheet, shall state your full name and the topic which you or she wishes to speak. If the speaker has already discussed the topic with a particular staff member before the meeting, he or she shall identify the name of the staff member. Each person shall be allowed a total of 3 minutes to speak and shall immediately stop when his or her 3 minutes are up. If the speaker does not stop at the end of his or her 3 minutes, the speaker shall be considered as interrupting or disrupting the meeting under North Carolina General Statute 143-318-17 and shall be subject to any criminal laws of the state of North Carolina. In the event the speaker is speaking for an organized group, the speaker shall be allowed a total of 5 minutes. Any organized group shall designate a single representative speaking so as to economize the time and to avoid duplication. The board shall designate a timekeeper, and I believe that is our clerk. The speaker shall address the board as a whole and shall not address individual board members and shall not ask for any verbal exchange back and forth between the board. All comments shall be in verbal form, and the speaker shall not be allowed to play any recording or video devices during any comments. With that, Madam Chair, we have got a total of 10 people who signed up for public comment, of which it appears that at least 8 of them have signed up and says data centers. Then we have one that signed up concerning county staff, and we got one that is signed up that does not have what subject matter they have. So with that being said, do you wish for me to go ahead and move forward with those that have signed up for something other than data centers first?
I think that would be the case, and if any of you are those 8 people and you feel like you should speak at this time instead of at the public hearing, you can raise your hand and we'll recognize you, but we'll go by that, information unless
Okay.
we see any hands.
The first individual who signed up, we would ask to come forward to the podium, state your full name, and then the subject matter that you wish to speak about, and that is Bill Vaughn.
Good evening, Madam Chair and fellow commissioners. I'm probably the first person in the room that's not going to talk about the data center, but the topic is related. In the recent budget, you had an opportunity to take care of a glaring omission on the county staff. Now, I know that the commissioners directed the county manager to not proceed with 12 positions that were suggested by county staff. However, within that budget, there were 4 vacancies. $409,000 available to fill a critical position that I have talked about for 2 to 3 years now, that being a county engineer, okay? So I've had this done before. I've got 40 years experience as engineer. I've been in public administration, management, public works. If I had 4 openings, 4 FTEs, full-time equivalents, and $400,000, and I had a critical position, I think I would have figured out how to do it. But the county manager did not come to you and say, hey, I have this critical position, and you're all aware of what it is because I spoke to it before. A county engineer is critical to the things that have happened here recently. If you had had one on staff for the last 2 or 3 years, some of the brouhaha that's occurred with, say, Lake Myers, with stormwater ordinance, with subdivision ordinances, with all these different things that an engineer is involved in may have been mitigated or at least ameliorated to some point. Just today, a job opening came out in Berkeley County, South Carolina for what the duties of a county engineer are. I'm going to read them, and everyone in here as a taxpayer can probably figure out we need that person to help this happen. Direct the daily operations of the engineering department, analyzing workflow. Execute policies provided by the county commissioners, you folks. Consult with various departments and elected officials and other agencies and the public in carrying out various engineering objectives and programs, some of which you would establish as commissioners. Provide technical assistance as required to county departments in construction and maintenance activities. Code enforcement and building inspection. I don't believe you have a licensed engineer over top of that at all. You have people with associate's degrees and technical degrees, but you do not have a registered professional engineer overseeing your construction and code enforcement to the best of my knowledge. If I'm wrong, I apologize. My experience has said not. I had electrical work done that continuity check was supposedly done. I went to plug in my device, and guess what? It wasn't even wired. Competent code enforcement would have caught that. Moving on. Manage county road improvement projects and various sources. You need that NCDOT coordination with a professional engineer. You need that peer-to-peer licensed engineer coordination. Review civil engineering aspects of site development plans and commercial industrial development. Everything you've just gone through for the last 2 years. Establish overseas training, direct stormwater management department, and provide the commissioners with advice and consent. I was the county engineer in Wythe County, Virginia for 6 years. I was always advising the county commissioners, supervisors up there. They needed that advice, that technical expertise.
And Mr. Vaughn, I hate to interrupt you, but the
Time is
timer's
out.
over there and you're up. Out of
Anyhow,
time.
bottom line is you had an opportunity. You had 4 positions you could have rewickered. They are vacant outside of the 12, and $400,000 for $150,000 fully burdened.
And Mr. Vaughn,
you
we're
could have
trying to
had.
stay on schedule tonight.
I
Thank you.
understand.
The next individual we've got that has not signed up that says data center beside his name is Ralph Graves. That's on the data center?
You don't
Oh,
want
you-
to say anything, Ralph? Okay,
Okay.
all right.
And then the other names that we've got signed up for public comment are actually on the data center. I will call your name out if you wish to speak now instead of at the public hearing. You can come forward for your 3 minutes. Linda Mace, Joanne Landry, Brianna Tilley, Misty Hall, Deborah Strug, Trevor Smith, Tom Hutchins, Nicole Eastman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we have reached the time for our public hearing. I want to give you a little bit of information about this before we start, and then Mr. Vogler will also reiterate our rules at the appropriate time. Before anyone in the audience speaks, we will have a presentation from our staff. Following that presentation, the county commissioners will have an opportunity to ask questions, and then we will open the public hearing for your comments. So, Mr. Barnett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We do have a presentation. It's rather short. Just for the sake of the audience here tonight, moratorium process is actually relatively simple. There's just a few steps that we have to do, one being tonight's meeting to have a public hearing to hear from the community, and then ultimately you all will pass a resolution laying out the framework for the moratorium. For moratoriums, they fall under General Statute 160D 107 for data centers. Part of the moratorium, we will have to define what data centers are. I think it's one of those things, you know it when you see it, but for the sake of the presentation, a data center is any building or group or buildings containing one or more large-scale computer systems or network server computers for data storage, data processing, web hosting, application hosting, streaming services, or other related services for off-site users. Typically, equipment includes mechanical and electrical equipment, redundant power supply connections, redundant data communication connections, power generation, cooling units, and enhanced security features. The term data center shall also encompass cryptocurrency mining and other comparable land uses, and the term shall be used interchangeably. The terms cryptocurrency mining as well as crypto mining or crypto mining operations shall be defined as any building or group of buildings containing one or more large-scale computer system or network server computers for computability intense applications such as blockchain technology, validating blockchain transitions, cryptocurrency mining, and other similar functions. So reasons for a moratorium. Data center development is increasing at a rapid rate in North Carolina and the United States. There is recognition of economic benefits for data center development provide, including creating an increased tax base to offset citizen tax burden. There is also recognition among citizens regarding the ever-evolving nature of data center development and potential impacts from data centers of those living near them. And finally, what we really need to do is develop ordinances that would permit data centers in a manner that improves economic conditions to Davie County while addressing and alleviating legitimate concerns regarding data centers. So in terms of the scope of the moratorium, basically we would prohibit the issuance of any permit, and I want to make this next part pretty clear, within the county's zoning jurisdiction. So only those unincorporated areas of Davie County would this moratorium take place. So we would permit the issuance of any permit within the county's zoning jurisdiction for data center development, including but not limited to zoning, building, or demolition permits. We would also prohibit the application and rezoning of any property for the use of data centers during the moratorium. While we're in the moratorium period, starting tonight, if you so choose to move forward with a moratorium, you all as county commissioners, the planning board, and county staff shall study the benefits and potential harms of data centers, as well as restrictions placed on data centers by other locations in North Carolina. We will start that tonight and try to do as much of this as we can by December 31st of this calendar year. If we are ahead of schedule, we will bring back you information to proceed forward. During this time period, we will, with the planning board, hold one public hearing to voice concerns regarding data centers. And we will also permit one potential presentation from a data center developer or industry expert on the potential benefits of data centers and ways to mitigate perceived harms. Then, no later than April 1st, 2027, staff shall begin preparing proposed revisions to the zoning ordinance. Then, no later than April 30th, 2027, the planning board shall conduct a hearing on proposed changes to the zoning ordinance and make recommendations to the county commissioners. And then by this time next year, the county commissioners shall hold a public hearing on proposed changes recommended by the planning board and vote on whether to adopt any changes to the zoning ordinance. There are by law some exceptions. All property or projects which qualify for exemptions under General Statute 160D 107C and North Carolina Common Law, and we do not have anything that meets those exemptions currently. And then finally, tonight you will conduct a public hearing, and then you will take up the vote whether or not to enact the proposed moratorium. And I'm here for any questions. Also, Mr. Vogler's here, and Mr. Easter is here as well.
So if I'm reading this correctly, there would be basically three public hearings that would allow the public to speak on this issue prior to July 6th or July 5th of next year.
Yes, you are correct.
At different levels.
Yes.
Are we going to adopt a time frame for the moratorium, or are we going to say if we get things in order, the moratorium could be changed at any given point? Because I think the public would kind of know that, if our intent is 6 months, it's 6 months. If it's a year, it's a year. Like, as not to appear like something is getting fast-tracked.
You are correct. So what we have proposed is a 12-month period. I do believe there are parts of this that could be done sooner, but at this point, I have no recommendation to you all to move any faster unless something dramatically comes up. I think having this time period will allow us to see what other locations are doing. This will allow us an opportunity, hopefully, as Commissioner Jones asked, when we do have the public hearing, so that we can do everything in one sitting and not have to come back multiple times. And as you all are also aware, there are several bits of legislation that's going through Raleigh right now, and we would like to also have an opportunity to see how those may affect the outcome of anything that we implement. So that's why we have the timetable that we have, basically from tonight until December 31st, to gather as much information as possible. You all are all aware that there are other locations across the state that have already implemented moratoriums. So there's a lot of groundwork that's already out there for us to go and see what fits best for us here in Davie County.
So, Mr. Barnett, just for the sake of transparency, because so many rumors are going around, at this time, has Davie County received an official request or application from any data center company or developer for a specific property?
No, ma'am, we have not received any official application or request from a data center developer or a data center company.
Thank you. Are Davie County staff or county commissioners currently under any type of non-disclosure agreement with a data center company or developer?
No, ma'am, we are not under any type of non-disclosure agreement with any company.
Thank you. Have any companies or developers approached our staff regarding a potential project?
Yes, ma'am. We have been approached by various companies to look at our zoning regulations and our utility uses policies.
Anyone else have any questions or comments?
Got a question, is this, make sure that, as we define this in our moratorium, there's nothing that we've not left any stone unturned where there's anything that could allow somebody to circumvent the adoption of this moratorium, like any kind of loophole that we've left open.
As long as they don't submit an application between this point and when you actually vote.
And the office is closed, so.
I don't think there's one here in the room tonight.
But you never know.
I think
Yeah.
I don't think there's I don't think I see any companies here tonight.
And there's no ambiguous definition that we didn't cover on, does it look and walk and talk like a duck or a data center? It is one.
I think we pretty much mirror this one from another location. And we've met several times with staff internally, so I think we've covered all the potential data center types that may come.
I just don't want somebody smarter than me coming up and telling me that this is what the definition of a data center is, then we didn't understand what the definition was.
Anyone else? Mr. Barnett, I think maybe you can blend my two last questions. If you could just briefly explain the process when a commercial entity begins discussions with the county and what could possibly occur if we do not put the appropriate land use procedures and regulations in place.
Yes, so right now, according to our zoning ordinance, because we do not specifically spell out what a data center is, we would be probably looking at the closest type zoning, which would be industrial. So that could be one option. The other option would be, because we don't define it, and this is partly why we want to have a moratorium in place to allow us time to properly define a data center. Technically, if it's not defined, it's a right by use. They could pretty much put a data center anywhere in the zoning district that you all control, because we have not taken the steps to properly define it, characterize it, put it in a zoning district, spell out the process of which they would have to go through to get rezoned. So that would be, lack of a better way of putting it, a free-for-all. When companies do approach us for various commercial and industrial type uses, they do want to talk to us about what zoning's in place. We do have a lot of discussions about our current utility usage. Our new water plant is coming online, so we have increased capacity, but in the long term, we have to weigh out what kind of impact that's going to have. So basically, just like with any other industrial user, they do their due diligence to see if they think Davie County is going to be a fit for them. So they do have meetings with our development staff and our utility staff.
Anyone else have questions or comments before we go to the public hearing? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Barnett.
Thank you.
So before we get to the public comment, I just want to make a few thoughts. Of course, we all recognize that technology is taking over our world and that these are things that are going to come before us. And given our land availability and infrastructure, we shouldn't be surprised that somebody's going to look at us. But we absolutely realize the concerns, and we want to take this time to investigate and get our ducks in a row, for lack of a better word. And this moratorium would provide us the opportunity to do all of those things and to do the research that we need to do and engage in proper conversations. So I do want to let you know before Mr. Vogler gives the official rules that when you come to the podium, we expect you to come one person at a time. No props, no added drama. It's just you speaking to us and sharing your concerns. And I would ask that you hold your applause between speakers and wait till the end so that we can just keep everything flowing a little better and be respectful of everyone's time. Mr. Vogler?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Now, this is a public hearing comment, not a public hearing show. So we expect everyone to be respectful and to observe proper decorum that you would normally have in any type of business meeting. So each person desiring to speak at this public hearing should come forward to the podium. She'll state his or her name to the board and then comment on the proposal. Speakers may only speak once per public hearing. The speaker shall address the board as a whole and shall not ask for a verbal exchange back from the board. It is not the intent of public comments to require the board to answer any impromptu questions. There should be no discussion between the speaker and members of the audience. All speakers are expected to observe decorum of the meeting, to be respectful in their language and presentation, and to refrain from the use of any profanity or shouting or making any type of disclosure prohibited by the Personnel Act in North Carolina with respect to any county employee. Willful violation of the law or interrupting or disrupting of a meeting can result in criminal charges being brought pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318-17. All comments by a speaker shall be limited to the subject of the public hearing. So this public hearing, the subject matter is a moratorium on data centers. So if you limit it to that instead of talking about what the weather was like today or anything else, that'll keep it flowing also. And that's what the rules state. The speaker must make all presentations from the podium provided and shall not be allowed to physically approach the board or staff members without the express invitation by the chair presiding. In order to conduct public business in an effective and productive manner, speakers are encouraged to avoid duplicity and repetitive comments. All applauses or any applauses will be held until the end of the public comment period. So that's part of the rules. I know Madam Chair asked you to, but it's also a rule. And last but not least, go back over that this subject matter is on data center moratoriums. So please refrain from speaking about other subjects at this time. With that said, the chair has announced that this is the day and hour of the public hearing pursuant to Chapter 160D of the General Statutes of North Carolina and pursuant to Chapter 155 of the Davie County Code of Ordinance for amendment to the zoning ordinance for the adoption of a moratorium on data centers. There has been due notice given pursuant to the requirements of the North Carolina General Statutes and Davie County Code of Ordinance, but we have due publication of notice of the public hearing in a newspaper with general circulation in Davie County. The clerk to the board has attached the affidavit, Madam Chair, showing the publication in said paper. I would ask then that all people who wish to comment at this public hearing come forward to the podium as your name is called and then comment on the proposal. And Madam Chair, with that being said, do you wish for me to go with the 8 people that signed up for public comment first or last?
I think that would be sufficient if we start with that list since we had a little mix up there.
Okay.
Before he starts that, I also want to give you a different opportunity. If the people in front of you have said everything you intend on saying, you may simply say, I agree with everything that's been said, if you, just for the benefit of time. Of course, if you would like to say what you want to, you are, but if we get very, very repetitive, then, we'll may call it off. But as long as we're getting new points and new ideas, but you are certainly welcome to say, I agree with everything that's been said and take your seat. So before we start that, I just want to say, is there anybody here who showed up here tonight to support in opposition of the moratorium? We'll let you go first if you're opposed to the moratorium. Takes care of that. One of the reasons I did that too is because I want you all to know that we hear you, because we see you here in support of the moratorium, but I just wanted to make sure that nobody was here to speak on the other side. So, Mr. Vogler.
And Madam Chair, looks like we've got a total of 27 individuals who've signed up at this time. And
Okay.
I will go through those names and call you out to come forward to the podium. First is Linda Mace.
name's Lin-
speak into the microphone
I
so
will.
we can
I'll
be
try-
sure and get
I-
this
I
recorded.
live with someone who's deaf, so I'll try to do that. Okay, my name's Linda Mace, and I live at 142 Old Stone Trail in Advance. Thank you, Madam Chairman and Commissioners, for having us. We appreciate it. And I'm going to say this fast. Before coming to tonight's meeting, I wanted to ask AI a question, even though I felt like I knew the answer. Will data centers make my electric bill higher? The answer presented by AI was yes. Massive power demands from new data centers, especially AI-driven facilities, are causing electricity rates to rise for everyday consumers in many areas. Why? Because when massive facilities rapidly connect to your local power grid, they force utility companies to spend billions on new power plants, transformers, and transmission lines. In most regions, these astronomical costs are legally spread across all utility customers rather than being paid solely by the tech companies. Let that sink in. The people who are making huge profits off these data centers are not paying the new infrastructure and grid maintenance cost. These costs are passed on to us, the energy customers of Davie County, who reap nothing from these data centers. Now, explain to me why it states that these costs are legally passed on to we the people. Who has determined it is right to pass these costs on to us? Is this a decision that our legislators in Raleigh have made? I read today that buried in House Bill 56 was a change affecting how sales tax revenue from electricity used by qualifying data centers is going to be distributed. Under North Carolina's normal process, sales tax revenue is shared with local governments to help pay for essential services. But this provision keeps the tax proceeds from electricity used by qualifying data centers at the state level instead of allowing those dollars to be distributed through the normal formula. Counties and municipalities are the ones expected to support these facilities, yet the additional tax revenue generated from electricity used by data centers will remain with the state rather than flowing back to the counties. Is this like the decision to allow all these new, huge, cookie-cutter developments into Davie County? Did you know that the local zoning board and the county commissioners are unable to say no to these developers without running the risk of being sued? Our legislators in Raleigh have taken it upon themselves to make these decisions and remove them from our locally elected officials. Please don't take my word for any of this. As always, do your own research and ask questions. Thank y'all very much.
Mr. Ralph Graves.
You gonna pass? Okay.
Okay. Joanne Landry.
Joanne Landry. I live in the United States of America, zip code 27006. You were worried about what a duck looks like. If it quacks, if it talks, if it looks like one. Here's something that you can do. Instead of a moratorium, put an abomination. We don't want abomination. We don't want these data centers. We don't want the electricity. We don't want our water use. We don't want the risk of our children being impacted by this. I'm an old fart, okay? I used a dictionary, a thesaurus. I didn't need to use Google or AI. We need to establish our children to learn how to think and not what to think by whatever is fed to us by AI. We do not want data centers.
If you could hold
we
your
don't
applause,
need
please.
data centers.
Go ahead.
Okay? So I'm asking you, who we, the people, the power of us, who have elected you, Unfortunately, we got what we got in Raleigh, but what I'm saying is we elect you. You represent Davie County. We, the people of Davie County, are telling you, kill the duck. Do not allow this. We don't want a moratorium. We don't want it, period. Our land should be used for farming, agricultural, and what Davie County stood for before AI was ever brought to our doors. And I ask you, and I tell you, this is what we want. Thank you.
Again, this is going to take some time if we continue to applaud after each speaker.
Yes.
So next we have is Brianna Tilley.
Good evening. I want to keep this short. This is our county. Across the whole country, data centers are taking our land, they are taking our water, taking our health, and taking our ways of life. They're putting strain on our infrastructures and our natural resources. They are moving in fast, and they are forcing the people in these communities to pay for their transgressions. I pray our community will stand together against them bringing a data center anywhere near our beautiful county. Once we let them in, it's too late. It's not worth taking a chance, as we don't even know yet the effects of AI, the full effects of AI, and what it's capable of. Sorry. We really don't know if we wanted to have this much access to us. And in closing, does anyone else get the ick thinking about the constant police state-level surveillance this is capable of? I ask you to please consider the bigger picture. Just some food for thought. Thank you.
Next we have is Misty Hall.
Okay, I might stutter a little here. Good evening, and thank you for allowing us a seat at the table to voice our concerns about data centers today. I hope you will consider it fully. A lot of research has been done. The evidence is there in black and white. Having ChatGPT to take place of a fully functioning brain or using AI to create cute cartoon pictures of yourself is not worth it. The so-called benefits promised to communities have only benefited the developers and those receiving the kickbacks and profits, not to the citizens of those communities. I've also heard of being in a race with China used to justify data centers here. This argument is so weak and ignorant given that China has a population of 1.8 billion with only 368 data centers, and we have almost 5,000 data centers in a country of 257 million. The math ain't mathin'. There may be a short-term payoff to build here, but the damaging ripple effects are endless. The citizens of Davie will get nothing but the negative impacts, and we deserve better. Job creation is being falsely used to exaggerate economic benefits. The jobs created to build the facility are temporary and usually outsourced. The jobs created to maintain the facility are very minimal. Less than 15 regular employees at best. It seems more economically responsible to put your support behind an industry that creates jobs instead of eliminating them. Nothing about data centers positively affects the economy of communities despite their multitude of promises, and the harmful effects to us are too great a cost. I'm not sure where the mayor of Rural Hall got his information that the data centers lower taxes. From what I've researched, there are no tax benefits for the county. The only one who gets the tax benefit is the data center developer with unfair tax exemptions that they receive. The supposed closed-loop system is nothing of the sort. It still uses hundreds of thousands of water per day, contaminates it with chemicals to cool the servers, which turns into a sludge, then pumps the sludge back onto our lands. Wells dry up, and then the community is asked to conserve while the data center gets all the water they want. One of the local developers, Drew Nations, is aware of the sludge, but said he hasn't even considered that there would be consequences from it, or that his company may be financially liable for the cleanup in the future. Does this sound like a conscientious or responsible businessman to you? I know to some degree that data centers are inevitable given the speed of technology these days, but there needs to be more long-term research and guidelines in place. Currently, they bulldoze their way into communities with no guardrails, no consequences for all the damage they do. Before they should be allowed, they need to control the pollution and find a cleaner way to cool their systems other than using up our water. We should not be restricted on water use or have nasty brown water like other states have had. We should not be callously exposed to the health dangers imposed by the air noise and environmental pollution they cause. Also, they need to have their own energy source and be financially responsible for it. We should not be picking up the slack. I'm certain no one leading our county wants harm to come to our environment and wildlife, farmland, and livestock. Higher than usual power bills, ridiculous consumption of our precious resources, or your friends, family, and neighbors in Davie that will have to deal with the fallout. Finally, I must say living in Davie County for the past 34 years has made me quite protective of it. I raised a family here and continue to live and work here. To anyone considering desecrating our proud little county with these harmful data centers, remember, voting for them has been career-ending. If you put something like this here, we will not forget. Across the country, Americans are speaking out and voting out leaders who are signing NDAs and voting for data centers with no consideration of the public they represent. Please don't let us down. Thank you.
Okay, next is Deborah Strud.
Good evening, and I want to say thank you for your service. You're doing a job that I myself would not want to take on, and I know you're representing all of us here, and will take in our comments into consideration. I don't want to repeat things that other people will say, but my first and foremost passion is water is our most precious resource. With the drought we're experiencing, with development in the county we're experiencing, we can't afford data centers to be gobbling up the water and us paying more money for it. Now, what really brought me out specifically was the reading of the Enterprise, where a commissioner was mentioning that there are positive and negative things to consider, and the negatives may outweigh them, but while data centers are typically low on job creation, they are substantial investments and can provide significant tax revenue. So, tax revenue is one thing. So if you say you're holding the line on tax revenue, but we're paying more for the water and electric, we don't gain by that. So I want the commissioners to keep that in mind. I would appreciate that very much. The other thing is, if there comes an evaluation of the property by the developer, I would not want the developer to do their own self-assessment on the situation. It should be done on the outside by the county or county representatives so that numbers aren't fudged. And technology needs to advance. It's happening very quickly. I think there will be better technology to handle running data centers in the future. What they've got going now is not good. I don't know, people mentioned the air pollution, besides the water, besides the energy consumption. I wrote to you each individually through email so you can read what I sent you further. And I thank you for your assistance.
Next we have is Trevor Smith.
I'll clear my throat now so I don't have to do it in the middle. Also, our time isn't up on the board over here. I don't know if anyone wanted to change that. There is, generally speaking, an idea in this country that growth is good. We all hope to see our children grow up strong and well. We love to see our crops or our gardens grow to fruition. And of course, we all love to see our investment portfolios and 401ks grow as well. However, I, for one, do not believe growth is always good. One can grow disillusioned, grow angry, or grow tired. Leadership can grow complacent and grow arrogant. It is painfully easy for a family to outgrow a home, or for the needs of a community to outgrow the infrastructure available. And so I'm here tonight to tell you all that I've lived the entirety of my 31 years here in Davie County, and in the past 10 of those years, the most notable things I have seen grow around here are the amount of time I spend in traffic, my desire to see harsher consequences for those developing this county irresponsibly, and of course, my taxes. I think I'm not the only one here tonight who is somewhat resentful towards the unchecked and generally negative growth that has turned my once peaceful home into what it is today. And let me say unequivocally that if any data center project goes forward here, we will have passed a point of no return. And so I am telling you, with the greatest sincerity possible, that this moratorium is a good start, but it will certainly not be enough, and to do anything but take a full stand against these projects will be a terrible decision for this community. Thank you. That's all I have.
Next is Tom Hutchins.
Folks, if you don't mind, also, when you're speaking, make sure you're
Tom
speaking up
Hutchins.
and you're near the mic so that we can hear you, because some of the comments have been a little difficult to hear.
It's all right. I'm a Hutchins from Yadkin County. I'm pretty loud. So, I was born in Davie County, but I was raised in Yadkin County. And when my wife and I got married 16 years ago, we came back to Davie County. So this is my home. I spent 24 years in IT, everything from a junior admin all the way up to a C-suite advisor over data governance and risk, which is what I do now for Flow Automotive in Winston-Salem. This is a subject that's very near and dear to my heart, which is AI. And data centers, for as an example, we have to be real careful with this because, as Anthropic just recently said, AI is at a level now where it can update itself. It's a very scary time for the world. But I think one thing we have taken into consideration here is we don't want to become indentured servants of AI. And by putting an AI data center here or in Rural Hall or anywhere in there, we make ourselves indentured servants of AI because now we're indentured to that data center. What they do, now we have to go along with. They control your resources. They're going to control your property tax. They're going to control your local government. They're going to control all sorts of things. So we need to be real careful. I think this moratorium is a great way to start, to get educated on things. But let's give ourselves enough time. If we think it's going to take longer than a year, don't just stop at a year. Go longer. Give yourselves the time. I love Davie County. It reminds me of Yadkin County. They're both very similar. I like coming here. I've been all over the world. I've been to Japan. I've been all through Europe. I love coming here because this is a natural place. It's beautiful. Everybody here are beautiful people. You know, let's keep it that way. If we can, let's keep it that way. I think it's important that if we need to take a stand and say, no, we don't want that here, let's do that. Let's not let honey get poured into our ears, and don't let us become indentured servants of AI, please. That's all I got.
Next, we have Nicole Eastman.
Folks, I do want to tell you, we've asked you to hold your applause. When you're applauding, we've asked you not to, we're having a hard time hearing Mr. Vogler announce the names of the speakers. So I really would ask you to do that, please.
Good evening. My name is Nicole Eastman, and I'm your Yadkin Riverkeeper. Yadkin Riverkeeper is also a nonprofit organization that aims to protect the Yadkin River watershed, including all of Davie County. Thank you for the opportunity to provide a comment this evening. And thank you for considering a moratorium on data centers in your county. A moratorium will allow Davie County, with input from the people you represent, to develop thoughtful ordinances that will prevent these facilities from negatively impacting the county, public health, and the environment. As you know, these facilities require a tremendous amount of water resources and have the potential to discharge water containing contamination such as heavy metals and PFAS, also known as forever chemicals, because they do not degrade in the environment or in our bodies. A study conducted by North Carolina State University found PFAS compounds at every level of the food chain in the Yadkin River, from the algae to the insects, the fish, the wildlife that consume the fish, which would mean people who eat the fish they catch are also impacted. We do not want another potential source of PFAS contamination coming to Davie County and polluting the Yadkin River. Yadkin Riverkeeper is especially concerned about the cumulative impact of these hyperscale data centers and the two proposed Duke Energy methane power plants directly on the Yadkin River, one in Davie and one in Davidson County. Data centers and power plants will contribute to thermal pollution, a decrease in water availability, and water contamination in the Yadkin River, a drinking water source and important recreational resource that supports local economies. The combination of these developments will drastically change the historic and ecologic character of the Yadkin River and the county, and they require guidelines to effectively protect our water resources. Thank you for listening to your community's concerns by developing a moratorium on data centers, and I encourage you to continue considering the impacts of not only data centers, but the accompanying methane power plants on Davie County. Thank you.
Next we have is John Fuller.
Good evening. My name is John Fuller, and I live in the historic Hodges Business College located at 154 Cherry Hill Road, Mocksville, North Carolina. Before I begin my comments, I'd like to thank our commissioners for their work in preparing a data center moratorium for Davie County and for moving this meeting to a larger venue so all of the folks here could attend. I'd first like to read the introduction from the Davie County Comprehensive Plan, a development guide to 2040 adopted by the board in December of 2019. The Davie County Comprehensive Plan is a vision for the future growth, development, and conservation of Davie County, honoring its people and rich culture and natural heritage. The plan includes recommendations organized around agriculture, natural resources, health, housing, land use, parks, recreation and trails, transportation, and utilities and services. I served on the Davie County Planning Board for 6 years in the mid-2000s and frequently used the comprehensive plan as a reference guide to direct our decisions. Over that period, most of our work was limited to small rezonings and studying how to improve our residential zoning ordinance to preserve the rural character of Davie County. This is nothing compared to the potential impact of an AI data center in a residential agricultural zoning district. Before each case, I would visit the site, read through the provided application, research as necessary, and make the most informed decision possible for the property owner and surrounding community. These decisions are critically important as they can positively and negatively impact the lives of those of our community. I want to say that I have a great respect for the owner of the land around our property and know that they want to do what is right. It has to be the right thing for the county and especially those living in this part of Davie County. The potential immense impact of a facility such as an AI data center will certainly take serious study by the Planning Board and commissioners. Because of this, we recommend the commissioners form an advisory committee made up of informed local citizens with no ties to data center construction or development to provide recommendations on this issue. This advisory committee would assist in researching issues related to sound, light, pollution, buffers, stormwater, utilities, tax incentives, economic impact, jobs, and future decommissioning. As quoted by Michael Bomarito, an AI data center expert, I want you to know I am not anti-development, but pro-accountability. As an architect for the last 38 years, I know that any project can be done right with serious, in-depth thought, but please understand the thoughts going through my head the last month are many. Because of the data center proposal, I was wondering, was I wrong to invest the last 35 years saving the Hodges Business College a piece of Davie County history. I hope we take the time to think this through. Thank you all for taking the time tonight.
Next we have is Joseph Krotz.
Good evening, Board. My name is Joseph Krotz. I live approximately a half a mile from the intersection of Cherry Hill Road and 801 South on a family farm. I'm speaking to express my support for a moratorium on all Davie data centers. I request that Davie County establish an independent advisory and review board that comprises of at least one hazmat specialist not affiliated with the data center or the landowner. This board should meet prior to any decisions regarding the proposed data centers due to the following potential hazardous environmental impacts and concerns: the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act, the Toxic Substances Control Act, the Environmental Protection Agency, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration are in place to safeguard human health and the environment from hazardous chemicals. These words and names should concern and scare you. Most community-friendly and environmentally safe projects do not involve intense regulatory oversight from these agencies. I will now list 3 potential hazards: fuel and hydrocarbons, or organic compounds that are made entirely of hydrogen and carbon. In data centers, these are usually found as petroleum-based fuels like diesel or synthetic cooling oils. Diesel generators provide backup power, with synthetic hydrocarbons are sometimes used in closed-loop cooling systems like ethylene glycol. Large diesel spill tanks or leaks can contaminate local soil and groundwater. Intentionally, combustion from backup generators release carbon and smog. This contributes to local air pollution and requires strict air quality permits. A singular 100 megawatt data center could potentially store 1.2 million gallons or 200 tankers of diesel fuel. That is enough fuel to power 50 diesel generators up to 96 hours at an average combined rate of 11,000 gallons per hour. That is 264,000 gallons every 24 hours. Only 25 gallons of spilled diesel is considered a reportable spill. PFAS. Data centers are also potentially use a form of fire suppressing or cooling chemicals called PFAS, or forever chemicals. These are man-made chemicals with strong carbon-fluorine bonds that do not break down in air, water, or sunlight, or nature, causing these chemicals to linger indefinitely within the environment. They are heavily used in server semiconductors and in new high-density liquid cooling setups. They are also used in server cable coatings and legacy fire suppression systems. They can leak or vaporize into the environment because they accumulate in the body and the environment over time. Operators face increasing reporting requirements, phase-outs, and surge in toxic litigation. These chemicals are frequently stored in high-pressure cylinders ranging from 200 pounds to several thousand pounds per system. The exact amounts are not disclosed. It has also become a widely banned practice from local fire departments and hazmat companies due to its forever properties and health risks, as most hazmat disposal sites will not even take the contaminants. Only 1 pound is a reportable spill. Biocides are chemicals used to kill organic life, such as the bacteria, mold, and algae that thrive in warm, cooling water. Water-based evaporative cooling systems use biocides to prevent pipes from getting clogged. Data centers flush millions of gallons of water per day to keep minerals and organics from building up. If this blow-down water is not carefully treated, these toxic biocides end up discharged directly into local waterways and aquatic ecosystems. Data centers potentially have an exorbitant amount of biocides and water treatment chemicals and typically have up to 5,000 gallons stored in 275-gallon totes or 55-gallon drums. 2 quarts or 1 pound of pure biocide or 1 gallon of diluted biocide constitutes a reportable hazmat incident. In closing, I don't know of a single person in this room that can survive without clean air, water, or food. Thank you.
Next we have is Brian Taylor.
Good evening. Hello, my name is Brian Taylor, and I live on Cherry Hill Road. I'd like to speak out against the construction of any data centers in Davie County, and I fully support a moratorium to fully explore this idea. Across the United States, billion and trillion dollar companies are in an arms race to claim they are top dog in data storage, manipulation, and AI. This battle is being played out not in their corporate offices, but often in rural communities such as ours that are targeted for construction of their data centers. The game plan for this process has been well established by these entities. Quietly buy undeveloped land, get approval for construction, and build a facility as quickly as possible. The reason for this secrecy and speed? Because these centers are almost universally despised by those who have the misfortune of living around them. These big companies are well aware of this and have slick PR departments that sell their product to local leaders and landowners. After all, what harm could one small building do out in the middle of the woods? The answer is a lot. These data centers are not small. They consume massive amounts of water and electricity, produce sound, thermal, and light pollution on an industrial scale, and have significant impacts on air quality with generators that burn through large quantities of diesel fuel. Increased cases of respiratory illness and headaches from both audible and inaudible noise pollution, as well as other health problems, have been documented around these centers. This is not conspiracy fodder. This is real, and all the more concerning when you consider that data centers have not been around for that long. Speaking of the life of data centers, although they are being pushed as vital and the way of the future, their actual necessity in the long run is debatable and has an expiration date. It is estimated that most data centers will have an effective lifespan of only 10 to 15 years or less. What happens after that center is no longer viable and technology has moved on? The people of Davie County are left with a derelict industrial site that can never again be used for farming, hunting, or housing. I strongly support a year-long moratorium on the construction of data centers. I implore you to make this moratorium one that means something, one that will allow for thoughtful and thorough study of the impact a data center would have immediately and in the future. I trust that these studies and discussions will be done with transparency and honesty and not be hidden behind closed doors or non-disclosure agreements. In conclusion, I'd like to leave you with a thought. A 50-year-old time capsule was just opened in Knoxville, giving us a glimpse into the past and how far we've come in 5 decades. In an interview on the news, I heard the question asked, what kind of legacy do you want to leave for your community in 50 years? I think that's an incredibly important question. I hope you do too. Thank you.
Next we have is Robin Mason.
Good evening. My name is Robin Krotz Mason. I am a 4th-generation farmer with permanent, very deep roots in the southern end of Davie County. So I stand here today to represent one of the most threatened professions in our country, farmers. Our farmland is going away at an alarming rate. Right here in our county, it's being zoned for housing and industrial use. We have an economic development group that's been working for our county for years with great success. This success has claimed many acres that were previous farm acres without regard to the effect on my way of life and to the peaceful way of life that many people come here to Davie County to enjoy. Our rural communities are disappearing. Several years ago, solar projects started creeping up here in Davie County, and suddenly hundreds more acres have been industrialized into what is referred to as solar farms. These solar farms had no end-of-life plan required before they were built, no way of regulating how they would ever be cleaned up once they're no longer productive. Will they just be a bunch of empty cells on land that is no longer productive? My way of life is quickly being zoned away. And now we hear the possibility of data centers coming into our county. Now my concern is just not for myself and for other farmers. It's for my church family, it's for my neighbors, it's for my friends, it's for all of us in Davie County. A data center on a 500-acre tract of land is typically considered a hyperscale center. meaning that everyone in our community will feel, hear, and smell this toxic addition to our community. We'll hear it, smell it, and feel it for as long as it's needed. Once it's no longer needed, it'll still be there, just a toxic area. I'm asking you, our county commissioners, to approve our county to pay for an independent environmental, social, and economic study, a study other than what the data center developers will be presenting to you. I'd like to see a citizens advisory board created to participate in the conversation regarding the independent studies findings and the developers' studies as well. I understand both sides of this argument. The data centers bring a lot of money and a lot of promises. But I ask you to consider, how much is a quiet night, clean air, clean drinking water, and a peaceful way of life worth? Because once it's gone, the data center developers won't be here to buy it back for us.
Next we have is Jeff Plott.
My name is Jeff Plott. I'm here to talk about data centers again tonight. I live at 112 Polaris Drive here in Moxville. I stand here today to urge each and every one of you to vote yes on this moratorium on data centers and to vote no on any proposed or future data centers that may be presented to you. A one-year moratorium on data centers, this will give us time, but a pause is completely useless if we don't use this to pass strict regulations on these data centers. Right now, tech companies are looking at our underdeveloped county as an easy prey. If we do not act during this one-year window, they will export our weak zoning laws the second the clock runs out. First, we must mandate strict resource accountability. Any data centers must be legally restricted from draining our local water table or straining our power grid. They must pay for their own infrastructure, not pass the cost on to us as the taxpayers. Second, we need noise, light, and environmental protections. We must enforce strict sound limits on industrial cooling fans and require heavy and natural landscaping buffers. Finally, we need financial guarantees. If a tech company builds here, they must pay heavy, locked-in local taxes that directly fund our water systems, our roads, our emergency services, and not just a one-time construction fee. This one-year moratorium is only our shield. Let's use it to write rules that protect us, not the tech giants. But ultimately, we do not want data centers in Davie County, but we do need to have safeguards in place to protect our homeland of Davie County. Thank you for your time.
Next we have is Jake Ratledge.
Good evening. My name's Jake Ratledge. I grew up on the farm that borders the Harris farm where they want to put this data center. I'm 27 years old. I'm a Marine veteran and a father of a 2-year-old and a home and farm owner in Davie County myself. A lot of parents in this room today, mine included. I bet if you asked almost any parent what they care about and love the most on this planet, it's their children. I know that would be my answer. What would this data center do to better the quality of life for our children? The obvious answer is it wouldn't. In fact, it would do the opposite. Lowering the property value, air pollution, light pollution, water pollution, deforestation of what once was agricultural farmland passed down hundreds of years in this county. Family farms and football is what makes Davie County, Davie County. I don't know anyone that would honestly say that they would prefer, when giving someone directions to their house, have to say, yeah, you want to hit 601, bust a left at the corner store, and then once you hear the humming at the AI data center, I'm about half a mile down on the left. Data centers and Davie County don't mix. I'm going to read a Bible verse that I think relates to this meeting. Proverbs 21:5, good planning and hard work lead to prosperity, but hasty shortcuts lead to poverty. Yeah, the Harris family would financially prosper, but the county and the rest of its people will not. I think it's the general consensus of the people that live here that we value God, family, and community over one family getting rich while the rest of us suffer. The farm I grew up on beside the proposed data center site has been in my family since the early 1700s. Like I said, I have a 2-year-old. What I'm asking of y'all today is please don't take the amazing slice of heaven on earth childhood I was blessed with growing up away from my son. I don't want to be the last generation of my family that remembers Davie County as a rural place. The land is part of the reason I joined the Marine Corps in 2017 because I grew up with something worth fighting for. I never thought I would have to fight for it like this. When somebody asks where I'm from, I say Davie County, not Moxville, not Coolamy, Davie County. This county is a tight-knit community, and I think it's fair to say the community doesn't want or need data centers replacing our farms. Where do we draw the line? And that's what I'm asking of y'all today, for y'all to pick up your pens and draw a line that protects and preserves the people and the land that has protected and preserved this county we call home for hundreds of years. Davie County wants the line to be drawn. Now it's up to you to draw it. Thank you.
Next. If you don't want to respect the board, at least respect the individuals that are speaking, and we are able to hear who I'm calling next, and so they know to get up. Next we have is Emma Grace Snow.
Hello, my name is Emma Grace Snow. I'm a rising freshman at Davie. My parents moved back to Davie County when I was born for 2 reasons. 1, childcare is cheaper when your grandparents keep you. And 2, the easy pace of country life is better than raising a kid in the rushed pace of life in the city. Here's what scares me. It was hot last week. Really, really hot. Imagine this. What if this is the coolest summer we have for the rest of our lives? Let me repeat that. What if this is the coolest summer we have for the rest of our lives? And it very well could be the coolest summer we have for a long time. I am 14 years old, and I should not have to worry about these types of things happening in our community. I am the future. I am the next generation to do big things, and those big things could be taken away by the greed of the wealthy community members. By data centers have an alarming environmental impact. A CNN News article by Laura Pattison states, they, as in the data centers, are creating heat islands, warming the land around them by 16 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, real fast, imagine living in an area where the summers could reach up to 116 degrees Fahrenheit. That would be miserable. The article also states that the data centers make life hotter for the millions of people near the surrounding areas. Now, don't be heartless. Think about the people who work outside for a living, or even the kids who play sports in the summer. And as a tennis player, that heat would be complete agony. So I vote no to this data center for the people, environment, and our future.
Next we have is Carrie Ratledge.
Good evening. My name is Carrie Ratledge. Thank you for allowing us to be here. I live off of Pleasant Acre Drive on a farm that has been in my family since the 1700s. Along with my family, my 91-year-old grandma, my parents, my aunt and uncle also own homes on this farm, which shares a property line with the land which is currently being surveyed and presumably considered for an AI data center. This is a familiar story in our area. Our family has lived and worked on this land for over 250 years. We have raised families on it and protected it so that we can pass it down to future generations. I come to you today to ask that you will help protect our farm and others like it in our area. I thank you for the moratorium that is being proposed. However, that's just the first step. We're requesting a zoning ordinance to prohibit data centers in agricultural and rural zones. An AI data center in our area would change everything for our families around it: noise levels, demands on power and water, and a decrease in crop yields. 2 of the major crops that these centers have been shown to affect are soybeans and wheat, decreasing the yield amount up to 20%. We lease out our fields to local farmers to raise corn, soybeans, and wheat. The revenue pays taxes and expenses so that families can keep their land. Under the county's current zoning codes, land use decisions are intended to promote health, safety, and general welfare of the community. Allowing industrial-scale data centers near active farmland conflicts with that purpose. I hope that our commissioners all share in those intents for the well-being of everyone in our community. Once land is rezoned and industrialized, it can't be undone. Changing the face of our community will permanently damage Davie County's future. Please stand with Davie County families to preserve that heritage that defines our community. On a side note, I did not write this down. I also work in Davie County. I'm a hygienist, and I see tons of new people coming into Davie County. And every time I have a new patient, I ask them, what brings you here? Or what do you love about Davie County? They always say it's a small town feel, but we're close to a big city. We have the health care we need in Winston. We have, shopping. We have whatever we need. But we have Davie County as our small town community. I doubt they're ever going to say we move here for an AI data center. So keep that in mind. People come here because of who we are, and they stay here because of who we are. Thank you.
Next we have is Ken Ludwig.
I'm just glad I didn't have to follow the 14-year-old. My name's Ken Ludwig. I live in the Jerusalem district. I am ground zero, less than a mile from the proposed data center site. I had prepared stuff here to speak about, but I agree with pretty much everything that has been said thus far. I just wanted to point something out around, I'm old enough to remember the first computer, which was about the size of this room. Now we have more computing power than that in our pocket, every single one of us. And it took less than 50 years for that all to transpire. It's taken 25 years only for the iPhone to completely control our existence. And we all live out of our iPhones after only 20, 25 years. The data centers are part of the infancy of AI. This is a new technology. It hasn't been around long enough for it to develop as fully as it will develop eventually. And we won't need data centers, period. We will wind up, my wife read an article today about they're developing a chip that will go in our phone that will eliminate our need for AI altogether to use our phones. Our phones, our individual phones, we are the #1 users of AI. But when it comes to the computing power involved with AI, we are an itty-bitty, teeny-weeny little fraction. It is all about government and corporations. It's all about collecting our data. We're not going to need it. We're not going to need the centers for very long. And once we're done with them, as some people have pointed out, what's left? Once that land is graded and paved and 600 acres of asphalt and concrete are laid down, we don't ever get that land back, ever, no matter what happens. And we may wind up with a company says, well, when the time comes to decommission the AI center, the data center, we'll take it all apart and put it back the way it was. Well, that's A, baloney. B, you can guarantee the minute that they no longer use that data center, the company that signed the contract to demolish it and to put it back the way it was goes bankrupt and disappears. I get that everybody in this room is trusting you guys to protect our lifestyle. I am thrilled. I know where this is going, and I'm thrilled to see that it's going that way. I'm thrilled to see so many people spend the time to research this and come up with some of the information about what it is and the detriment to our environment, to our health, to our lifestyle. This is an existential event for our lifestyle because this will destroy it. What we really need is ordinances. We need ordinances that absolutely preclude any big tech corporation from coming in and destroying our lifestyle. Thank you.
Next is Brad Duffner.
Madam Chair and board members, thanks for the opportunity to speak today. I agree with everything that guy said. My name is Brad Duffner, and I've only been a Davie County resident for 34 years. What I offer is that I'm in a unique position to be able to speak on data centers, as I have 40-plus years of experience managing the design, construction, and operations of data centers, corporate offices, and distribution centers throughout the United States. My expertise also includes the technology that runs in the data centers, networks, servers, storage, and the electricity and the water needed to run that equipment. Please know that AI data centers are very complex, and I can't possibly talk about all the complexities here now. However, I can educate the community on land selection, site preparation, data center design, and the information technologies that will be installed in these data centers. Unfortunately, there's not enough time to talk about that here today. For the average Davie County resident, what are the key points you need to be worried about? Number one, what kind of electricity is needed and where will it come from? Does the current electrical grid have capacity? We all know the answer, no. Will the grid impact Davie County residents? Short answer is yes. It will cost you more. How much? To be determined. How will new technologies like those servers, networks, and storages that I mentioned be cooled? Is it air-cooled? Is it water-cooled? Most likely, it's water, as you can see across the United States. How much water does a large data center need? Do your research, but it's between 500 million and 2 billion gallons of water annually. Let that sink in. I have heard somebody say that before. How will using that much water from the Adjourn River impact the community? I don't know, but we really should be concerned. They tell you that there are a lot of jobs building and operating a data center. First of all, Davie County residents will not be employed to build a data center, as these are specialized skill sets. Secondly, most folks don't know that data centers operate in the dark. So what's that mean? It means there's probably about 20 people running a data center. So I'm in a unique position to offer Davie County and Mocksville elected officials 40-plus years of experience evaluating the pros and cons of data centers and to help you navigate their complexities. I've heard an advisory board been mentioned several times here, and I'd be honored to be a part of that board to help. In closing, let me leave you with this. There are zero benefits for an AI data center. An AI data center will use massive amounts of water and electricity, which Davie County does not have. Lastly, there are no financial incentives that outweigh the preservation of our beautiful countryside. So I respectfully ask the commissioners and the planning board to do the right thing for Davie County and to continue to reject any data centers. I appreciate the opportunity to speak here, and God bless Davie County.
Next we have is Cindy Boger.
Hello, Madam Chair and Board Chairman. Thank you for allowing us to speak today. I'm Cindy Boger. I graduated from Davie High. I raised my children here, and I was an employee with Davie County Schools for 28 years. I ask that you approve the year moratorium on any data centers being built in Davie County. While the moratoria is in place, I propose that you create a data center task force to study current data centers and the impact on their communities. The task force may use information gained to strengthen laws and safeguard our community. At a minimum, we must have laws in place for data centers' water use, energy procurement, and noise pollution. Data center servers require massive amount of water. A mid-sized facility may use up to 300,000 gallons a day. Johnny Lambert stated that the new water facility in Coolamy provides water service for nearly 95% of the community. To what degree would a data center decrease that percentage? The National Integrated Drought Information System states that today 100% of Davie County is in an extreme drought. The monitoring location of the Yadkin River at Yadkin College shows that the Yadkin River's stream flow conditions are much below. Are we in a position to give a data center large portions of our water? The Data Center Task Force could make determinations on drought contingency plans, water risk assessments, water use monitoring, and more efficient means to cool servers. It appears that the data center would be powered by a gas-fired generation plant. This type of power comes with climate and health risk. What regulations are in place to ensure Clean Air Act adherence? The task force could implement rate schedules or billing classes for data centers and other high energy users so that their energy consumption isn't shared by households and businesses. How would noise pollution be addressed? Davie County NC Code of Ordinances 95.067 is a general nuisance code. The task force could strengthen this code to have a strict decibel-based zoning overlay. They could also require sound barriers, distance from residential areas, and insulation of generators. Ultimately, I do not want a data center in our beloved county. Yet it is not up to me. So approve the year moratorium and create a task force to oversee and create laws for data centers' water use, energy procurement, and noise pollution. Thank you.
Next we have is Felicia Browell.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, thank you for allowing us to speak. Most of the points I had written on my notes have been covered already, and I agree with most things. I'd like to clarify a couple of things and offer a couple of new things. First, I provided some documents to the scribe over there earlier today. One includes a draft of an ordinance that is currently under consideration in Pennsylvania for the very same thing you guys are looking at, for regulating data centers regarding offset space, noise pollution, energy usage, water contamination, water control, traffic control, access points, fire codes, etc. That's all in there. It's just provided as an example. If we could advance the moratorium document to section 1 to show paragraph 2, I would appreciate that. A couple of points about water usage. 500,000 gallons per day is pretty standard for a medium-sized data center. Likewise, 500 megawatts of power. To give you a comparison, a standard nuclear power plant, such as 3 Mile Island, provides 1 gigawatt. So the starting size for a general run-of-the-mill medium data center is half of a nuclear power plant. There are modular nuclear available. They run pretty clean. They could be scaled. But nuclear. If they just choose to run on diesel, you have a lot of diesel fumes, so you have a lot of air pollution. The biggest hazard with sound, and a lot of people have mentioned sound, is actually the low frequency sound, which penetrates walls, ear protection, and the ground. It travels for miles and is known to enhance anxiety, to cause headaches, hearing problems, disrupt livestock, and human health is definitely an issue with the low hertz sound. We've gone over electricity. Cooling could be provided by, there's a type of cooling called, I left it on my notes. covers the chips themselves, but that involves the PFAS, and it still involves water cooling. There is some talk about a flexibility argument with the power supplies, but that they say that they will use the AI itself to stabilize the grid. That doesn't actually work that way. I can provide you with the name of an expert if you want to discuss with him that power generation and grid impact of a data center. That's all I have. Thank you for your time.
Next we have is Darrell Cox.
Let me say thank you to the commissioners for allowing me to speak to you tonight, along with these others, and I agree with everything that's already been said. But one of my concerns about data centers, and I don't know a great deal about them, but is the noise. I pastor Trinity Baptist Church on the Highway 601, there on the south end of the county near Coolamy. And we're right on the highway there. I've been pastor there 42 years, and I've put my life in that church, and God's been good to us and blessed our ministry there. But, you know, the Bible said faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. And if people cannot hear, and I'm worried about that, we have a Christian school there that operates 5 days a week, K4 through 12th grade. We have, actually there's people there 7 days a week. We have a Bible Institute for young preachers that's there 2 nights a week. And of course, Sunday, we're there about all day, Sunday morning and Sunday nights, Wednesday nights. And the preaching and the music there, especially the preaching, I'm very concerned about the noise there, because if we're hindered in hearing, then our ministry, we'd have to almost try to relocate or something if it's as bad as I anticipate. And at this point, in my ministry of 42 years, I'd hate to think I had to start over, and that our properties there would be not of much value because of the data center moving in, and have to go buy property and relocate. I'd be greatly concerned about that, and it would affect so many people's lives here in the county that attend Sunday school and church there. And I've been praying about it, and I'm hoping that God will stop it, and hope that you'll pray about that, and that you'll consider helping to put that in action too. Thank you so much tonight for allowing me to speak to you. Thank you.
Next we have is Sarah Welchler.
Hello, my name is Sarah Weschler, and I live at 112 Eli Avenue. I did have to pivot a little bit because I had props, but I'm going to follow your rules. First, thank you for suggesting we are leaning toward a one-year moratorium. But I do think we need to address some housekeeping issues first and take a red pen to your first draft. For instance, the loophole stating that a moratorium can be lifted by a unanimous vote of the board needs to be removed. If you can get all 42,000 residents to unanimously approve, then we can talk. There also need, guys, thank you, but I don't want to get kicked off. I got a lot to say. There also needs to be an unbiased expert presentation from scientists who are not bought or sponsored by the LLC who wants the project to go through. If our neighbors are adopting a one-year moratorium, then we need at least a 2 or a 3-year moratorium so that we can actually see what happens after they start allowing data centers to move in. Otherwise, we all are at the same ground level, knowing nothing. Further, I would like to respectfully disagree that we even need a task force, because there are already answers in our Davie County and Moxville plans that take us up through 2040. These are all direct quotes, and I'd like to apply data centers as an example. Do data centers protect the rural character and discourage premature public infrastructure demand? No. Do data centers protect the agricultural operations, pasture land, forestry, and open space that are part of the natural part of Davie County's landscape? No. Do data centers preserve and enhance our historic resources in Davie County? No. Do data centers preserve and enhance our cultural resources in Davie County? No. Do data centers preserve and enhance our natural resources and open spaces? No. Do data centers enhance the well-being of our citizens, promote sustainable growth, and enable an outstanding quality of life for everyone in our community? Now you guys can talk. Thank you.
Next we have is Chris Berger.
Hello, Commissioners. My name's Chris Berger. I'm on Will Boone, so an affected neighbor to this area. My wife and I moved to Davie County from Iredell. We escaped there probably 4 years ago from rampant growth and wanted to get to a farm community. We've got a nice farm, a house that was built in 1903, and we're proud to start bringing that back to the community. It's a bit of a gut check time within comprehensive plans. I understand that you guys are restrained to that, so a lot of what you see is recognizing what the community's asking for, and I think we all see what that is tonight. But the future is making sure that the laws that you have to follow along is part of what the community's asking for. So as much as the year plan is, think to the future too. Think to the 30s and 40s and 50s and stuff for future development. So that is the best that we could do, I think, is just understanding that this is not anything that this community really needs or desires. The second thing I'd like to touch on is it's great to hear the families that have been here, and I think from an outside perspective, even though we came 30 minutes away, we did come here and really love what the community has, the things that happen downtown and the food truck days and the benefit that gets spoke of data centers is the tax revenue. But I think you and the community need to understand you've already won. Like, this is a great place to be, and growth beyond where you are is kind of just bonus stuff. I mean, it's a great place, and the things that the cities, the sidewalks are clean, there's construction, paving new sidewalks all the time. Downtown's great. Moxville itself has 2 historic districts. I mean, so sometimes when you're immersed in it, I don't think that you entirely understand how good you have it, and you think we should just continue to grow and grow and grow. And I don't think anyone's against growth and development, but you have to maintain what the community wants and is asking for, and the heart of the city and the county. So that's an outside perspective that I think maybe this is everyone's home and has been for generations, and that's the important part. But, just understand that from the outside looking in, it's a pretty great place. So anyway, that's I think, a new perspective that nobody's touched on, and there's a lot of smart people here that's got a lot of great plans, and I hope that you listen to them. Thank you.
Next we have is Rebecca Berger.
Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. My name is Rebecca Berger. I do live on Will Boone Road. I own 40 acres of property. My home was built in 1903. You know we have taken a wrong turn as a society when we have to convince people that taking care of the environment is essential to human survival. Davie County and Mocksville have the opportunity to do something historical for all of its residents. From a county that values its rural, historical roots, like Daniel Boone Days, a whole baseball team named the Davie Crockett's, bountiful historical districts, thriving FFA chapters, and the voluntary agricultural district, which I am part of, you have the power to be the first county in our state to enact a permanent ban. Not a Band-Aid on a broken bone, temporary moratorium fix, a permanent ban for us on data centers. Just last month, Hartford County in Maryland, Wakulla County, and Jackson County in Florida implemented permanent bans. 15 different states, including 3 that are close to us, South Carolina, Virginia, and Georgia, are considering permanent bans. I have 2 assets in my life, my health and my property. The health of every resident will be affected. Our property values will tank. We are already in a drought. Last week was a heat index of 110 degrees. There's actually a data center in Utah where the temperature has increased in that area by 28 degrees. It is not acceptable for the temperature here in Davie County to be 138. Humans cannot live in conditions higher than 122 degrees. How did we go from reduce your carbon footprint to building AI pollution centers in every state? And what happens in 20 years when something bigger and better comes along? We're stuck with acres and acres of concrete. It's not like a Blockbuster going out of business and a Trader Joe's takes its place. The whole area will be desecrated. And all of you know technology and advances, this is going to fade out like everything else does. And we can't just plow this into a landfill. Something is wrong with our system when we are so comfortable we prioritize profits over people and communities. Failing to preserve our history and our environment creates consequences for the present and the future. Our kids will inherit nothing but death and destruction. At some point, it stops being innovation at all costs and starts becoming greed disguised as progress. Thank you.
Next we have is Mary James. Mary James.
Good evening, Madam Chair and the commissioners. I not only want to thank you for allowing us to speak and moving this venue to a place where, but I want to really thank the people who are here tonight as well. The people who came out to speak against the data center. And I also want to thank Roger Lottie, who is responsible for the orange shirts and hats that you see in this room. A lot has been said already, but I do want to make a couple of comments specifically about the moratorium, which in many respects reads as a legal document, but may read less as a planning document for this work moving forward. It has been mentioned that there's an opportunity to really include specific details about what we're actually going to be looking at as we move through this moratorium conversation. Those issues specifically around water, electricity, the economic impact, the environmental impact. I don't necessarily see those things listed specifically in the moratorium, those questions that will be answered. And so my question is, could those things be included? Secondly, I would say that what appears to me to be missing in the moratorium is a conversation about how to engage the public really beyond the 2 or 3 public hearings that are proposed throughout the moratorium. and several people have suggested, and there has been a group that has been gathering for the last couple of weeks that have talked about a data center advisory council and committee. And I would argue that there are people who have already come up to the podium to speak who would be excellent as part of that advisory council. And I would encourage those people to go to davieagainstdata.com, to sign up through that website to say, yes, I would be very interested in being a part of this advisory council. There are some pieces of the website and that information that includes having a dashboard that really looks at the kinds of things like the number of facilities that are proposed in our community, that look at the total tax revenue generated. So again, if we think about what does a community dashboard look like, that keeps our community informed about the kinds of conversations that you all are having, allowing for you to be transparent in those conversations. So let's think about a dashboard. Let's think about a development tracker that identifies who are the developers that are coming into our community, who is the property owner, what is the acreage, what is the parcel number, and most importantly, are the studies being done? What budget have you allocated to study this intensively so that we are making good and informed decisions? What does the traffic study look like? What does the environmental study look like? What is the utility analysis? And where is the budget for that? Who will pay for that? So again, let's keep on top of this, keep us informed, allow us to participate as public servants, as community members who care about this community. My name is Mary James, and I live at 203 Admiral Way. That's Moxville, but I really am Coolamy Fringe, so thank you for the opportunity.
Next we have is Marcia Correll.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I am Marcia Smith Correll, and I'm here to speak about this data center. The hand-hewed logs and the rocks used to build a home, build a house I call home, is still there, still exists on Cherry Hill Road. 4 generations of my family have lived in this house and on this property since the late 1800s. When my grandfather, John Marshall Call, purchased the land for $1,500. And our plan is to pass this on to the 5th generation. My grandfather was a truck farmer, selling and trading his goods for items that he could not raise or make himself, walking behind a plow, using a mule named Kate and a horse named Joe. He plowed these fields and raised vegetables, peanuts, wheat, and cotton. Farming requires long, hot days, but this was his way of life, as it was for many families in the rural area back in those days. My family has continued to farm the land and lease part of it for soybean, wheat, and cotton, and corn production. Am I nervous? Yeah. The proceeds from leasing this is essential because it helps us pay our property taxes. We have a forestry plan in place to ensure that we maintain healthy trees. We strive to be environmentally friendly and support agricultural preservation. Our Davie County rural roots run deep, and we all should strive to protect our open spaces and our farms. With the heat dome from this data center so close to the property, it would have a significant environmental and a quality of life impact for us. These domes can alter the local environment, creating a heat island, raising the temperatures, as you have already heard, anywhere close by, and creating more of a burden with our household energy bills. My family and I ask that you vote against the data center. On a side note, I was going to say my senior year in high school, I picked enough cotton to buy myself a winter coat. Some people here might know what a green Chesterfield coat with a velvet collar. I was so proud I called it my cotton picking coat. Thank you for letting me speak, and thank you for allowing us all to be here.
Next we have is Andy Cagle.
Well, thanks a lot, Commissioners, for your time. I'm just here to speak out against the AI data center and question the need for a moratorium when in fact the land is already zoned residential agriculture. So I'm confused why that wasn't just met with an immediate no to any proponent seeking an AI data center. I wanted to speak about how markets like stability and predictability. When they move into an area, they want assurances about the business climate, and they sue to maintain that. I think you guys experienced that with the subdivision that you were considering not approving, but I watched both the proponent's attorney, the county's attorney tell you all that you would be sued as a group and individually if you didn't bow down to the subdivision coming into our county. And I was so impressed when you guys all said no. I bragged about it for like weeks, and then inevitably the subdivision was approved. But residents also want stability and predictability, and residents of the residential agriculture district of this county do not expect that they're going to wake up one day and have their county commissioners considering a gigantic AI data center to be their neighbor. There's just no way that the second smallest county in NC should be entertaining an AI data center within its rural agriculture land base. There's just nothing that's compatible about that. And so I am totally against this moratorium. I think it's a distraction and somewhat of a scam. We need a ban, but I don't even know why we need a ban. The land is zoned residential agriculture. So it seems like you would just tell that proponent, well, no, this land's not available for that type of business. But here we are. And I just want to say that the stress of this moratorium is going to cause this community a lot of suffering. A lot of seniors, long-term residents, farmers are just going to be stressed out while you guys entertain the frivolous, elective, wasteful, endless request of the tech bro sector. They're going to frame AI as something of a consumer demand, and they're just giving us what they want or what we want. And I would encourage everyone to reject that assertion. The stuff's being pushed on us. We'll be made economic hostages of it, and then we'll be told we're all to blame for it being here. And so I strongly encourage you to simply just tell these proponents, no, the land is zoned residential agriculture, and give the residents the predictability that they deserve too. So thank you.
I want to thank everyone for coming out this evening to speak. Those of you who have spoken, there's no further individuals that have signed up now to speak at this time. Unless you as a board wish to allow others to speak, I would turn the public hearing back over to you as board chair to close the public comment section of this public hearing. Provide the board the opportunity to discuss among yourselves what, if any, action you wish to take at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Vogler. Before we make that move, I do want to thank all of you for your diligence and your research, for sharing your knowledge, for your passion and your deliverance, and thank those of you who are just here to support those speakers. We thank all of you for that. And Emma Grace Snow, I expect you to run for commissioner one day, ma'am. I just say. That being said, I will look for a motion to close the public comment section of the public hearing. Commissioner Jones, second. Second, Commissioner Poindexter. All in favor of closing the public comments portion? That's unanimous. All right, time for commissioner comments, questions.
Just a couple of things. I have Mr. Vogler, I have a couple of questions here. And just some comments I've written down. I want to thank each of you for being here. It's amazing to hear from you, and we hear you. Andy had indicated that Davie County, and he's rightfully so, is the second smallest landmass county in the state of North Carolina. I would just say this, and I hope as we put together a panel, a group, the planning board, whoever it might be, would specifically understand that a 600-acre industrial campus of any kind in rural Davie County is not something that I think we need. whether it's a data center, whether they're making widgets. I don't oppose development, but there's a time and a place, and that is not the place. I want to read something to you, and this is for the board because this is extremely important, and this relates to the technology is changing quickly. The cooling of these systems, things are changing. We heard a 10 to 15 year turnaround in the technology. It may even be, the dominoes may even be quicker than that. And a 600-acre hyper facility in Davie County, this weekend, this article came from a website called seekingalpha.com. An overseller of power in the Mid-Atlantic area, PJM, in an article, a public press release on Friday, talked about things that were happening because of the heat. And I'm going to read you one little part of this article. They spot sell power to Duke. Duke Power is one of the companies they sell to. Here's from the article. Spot wholesale electricity prices in Northern Virginia. You don't know how many times I've heard the word Loudoun County, Virginia, and Northern Virginia, and it's just a panacea. Median home price about $1 million, but part of that's the government. Spot wholesale electricity prices in Northern Virginia, home to the world's largest collection of data centers, have surged beyond $2,500 a megawatt hour this week, which was last week, as compared to $40 a megawatt hour when this company, PJM, is not in power distress. So when you hear, well, it's just not going to affect, it's not going to affect consumption, it's not going to affect your power bills, it's not going to affect the grid, this indicates it will. And so I just say we need, as we look at this, as we think about this, we need to consider these things. There are 100 data centers in North Carolina right now, either in construction or proposed. 100 in North Carolina. Just because we oppose a data center on a 600-acre spot in Davie County does not mean we oppose growth, we oppose development, we oppose data centers. Now, obviously there's above my pay grade discussion of data mining, but there are already 100 proposed centers in North Carolina. We're not going to lose to the Chinese because we don't put a data center in Davie County. I would say this to you, the North Carolina legislature, Ms. Mace had indicated earlier, many of you may have not even known this. Data centers were exempted at 75% of what they paid for electricity. They got an exemption from the state of North Carolina. Now, our legislature, in their wisdom, removed that exemption in the latest budget. But they kept the money of these 100 data centers that are proposed in North Carolina. So it was one step forward and 2 steps back. But I appreciate them doing that. I have a question that I would like for us to explore here if we can, Mr. Vogler. One is in North Carolina is a funny state in terms of legislative power. Can we, as a board of commissioners or the planning board, can we extend beyond? Can we do a 2 or 3 year moratorium? Or will the state law allow us to permanently ban data centers in Davie County? That's a question. That's a question. That's a question.
First of all, the authority that's given to any county board comes from the state of North Carolina. The state of North Carolina has created each of the 100 counties, and they tell us what we can and we cannot do. They passed a law, Chapter 160D of the North Carolina General Statutes, and in that law, it provides that we have the right to, local governments may adopt temporary moratoriums on any development approval required by law, except for the purposes of developing, adopting new or amended plans or development regulations governing residential uses. The duration of any moratorium, I'm quoting the law here, shall be reasonable in light of the specific conditions that warrant imposition of the moratorium and may not exceed the period of time necessary to correct, modify, or resolve such conditions. Now, they also gave us the authority, and that's in Section A. In Section E, they gave us the authority, but it's limited, to extend any moratorium. And it says that no moratorium may be subsequently renewed or extended for any additional periods unless the local government has taken all necessary and feasible steps provided to be taken in its ordinance establishing the moratorium to address the problems or conditions leading to imposition of the moratorium, and unless new facts and conditions warrant an extension. Any original renewal or extension of a development moratorium must include at the time of the adoption the findings set forth in 1 through 4 of subsection D, which we've got in our proposed moratorium, including what new facts or conditions warrant the extension. So to answer your question, we can only have a moratorium for a reasonable time period to study, and a reasonable time period as far as what all other counties are doing is a year. And they think that will pass muster in the courts. Give us time for that. Now, the other thing that we can do, though, is that once that year is coming to an end, then if we feel that we need additional time, and we can make those findings, we can extend it for probably another year. It doesn't say we can only extend it once. It says we can extend it if we have taken all reasonable physical steps. So that's sort of open-ended.
Okay. Well, I will leave it at this, Madam Chairman. What we do in the next 12 months needs to be significant. We're seeing it with residential development in Davie County, flaws in our ordinances that have allowed things to happen that this board does not like. These folks don't like, for the most part. And of course, the North Carolina legislature was involved in some of that. But what we do in the next 12 months needs to have a vision beyond that 12 months with an understanding, and I mean, it's as simple as this, that we do not need a 600-acre industrial campus in rural Davie County. Moxville is Moxville, Bermuda Run is Bermuda Run, and Coolamy is Coolamy. And they certainly control their zoning and their development, and these wonderful folks can go to their board meetings and speak their voice. But in terms of just the rural part of Davie County, we have 3 major industrial developments that fortunately or unfortunately have been approved: Farmington Road, Cana Road, and Angel Knoll. Those developments, we could have 20 years worth of development in those 3 developments without spreading out into the county. And so I just say, this board, and I want to say this to all of y'all, this board agrees with you. But we may agree all we want to, but we've got to make sure that we do something that has teeth. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. Anyone else?
Yes, I think back to some of the meetings we had. We had town hall meetings where people came and attended about what they wanted in Davie County. And I think one of the frustrating things I've had during my time as a commissioner is that we're constantly being bombarded by business people, the smartest people in the room, the people that they want to save us from ourselves. We just don't have enough sense to know what we want. I've got a master's degree. That doesn't make me smart. But you know what? I've sent pictures to some of you out here, and I'm the happiest when I'm out there with my 3 dogs, with them sitting under the shade of a hay wagon, may not be my hay wagon, or doing something like that. And you know, there's nothing wrong with it. We don't have to apologize. Why should we continue to apologize for wanting to have a rural lifestyle? One of the things I really want us that we need to hit on, because I'm not going to be on the board very much longer, is that we need to at least, to Mr. Cagle's point, if it says residential and agriculture, for starters, if we're going to honor our 2040 plan, we don't need to have a square mile data center in rural Davie County. If it needs to be near a city or something like that, fine. And I'm not trying to put it off on Moxville or Coolamy or Bermuda Run. I'm just saying, why do we have to make this so hard? What are the trappings that were being sold about this? I don't think anybody can have a tangible figure of what it's going to give us in tax revenue. And I mean, the more research I do, I want to be open to it. I want to do what's best for the community. There may be some value in it, but you know, I think back to, if you study history, and I did teach history at one time, but I probably know a lot less about history than a lot of you do, but history tends to rhyme, and history tends to repeat itself. And I look at some of this, and I feel like it's kind of like a gold rush of sorts for the people involved. And I think it's gonna, to the point the gentleman made about how big the computer was, like before I started college, half of maybe one of the classroom halls would be a computer. And now I look at this phone that dominates me like a Pavlovian response sometimes. And it's, you know, what's going to be next? I mean, it's kind of like the trade-off. We've got a lot of good things going on in Davie County. Do we have to have a data center? I think one of the things we got to look at, and I keep harping on this, if any of you watch any of the meetings, we've got, 265, 266, 267, it's according to what source you read, square miles. Well, one 640-acre data center is 1/265th. I'm a numbers nerd. That's a pretty significant amount. And we don't have that many tracts like that left. And I've heard a lot about property rights. And I believe in property rights of individuals, but when somebody else's property rights trump my desire to live and it detracts from my property or detracts from my quality of living, it's something that we need to be really cognizant of when we're trying to do this. So I think my final thing is a question to Mr. Vogler here, is the point that was brought up. I mean, if we're going to have a moratorium, are we going to have a moratorium for a year? We're going to have one for 3 months, or we're going to have one and then the board changes over in December? Are we going to throw it out then, or what are we going to adopt tonight? So that's all I got to say.
Commissioner Poindexter or Reniger?
The only thing that I can say is there's probably people out here in the audience that know a lot more than I do about data centers at this point. We do need the time, probably up to a year, to discover the advantages and disadvantages, as well as the issues that were brought up by the people here tonight. And that's what we're here for, is to listen to you and to do what's good for the majority of the people in Davie County.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate everyone coming out. The passion is moving, and I look forward to studying this, getting the facts, separating the emotions, and make the best decision. We need to be, when we come up with our ordinance, we need to be bold, we need to be unapologetic, and we need to get what we think the county could live with, if it, anything at all. But I do absolutely appreciate you folks coming out and letting your voices be heard. And I will promise that we will be transparent as we work through this. And a lot of great ideas. Several people have sent me several articles to consider, and I've been reading those. So anyway, look forward to working through this, and appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Board. I do believe that this moratorium will allow us time to gather more information and study more practices, engage you, the public, more, and implement our appropriate rules, procedures, and ordinances. And as we've already heard, our moratorium can be extended as long as we have justifiable reason. We don't want to put ourselves in a predicament with legislative if we can avoid it, that's for sure. So we want to be able to do what we need to do without them interfering in what we're doing. So before us is the proposal of a moratorium for 1 year. That is what's on the table. So I will entertain your thoughts or motion regarding so.
Mr. Vogler, I have a question. Section 1, Item 2. This moratorium shall commence on July 6, 2026 and expire no later than July 5th, 2027. This part, the Davie County Board of Commissioners shall be permitted to terminate this moratorium early upon the passage of a resolution by a majority vote of the board.
That is correct. That's the way all of your passages are.
Can it be unanimous?
You would not want, nor is it legal to require a unanimous decision on a board.
Okay, all right. Then I would make a motion to strike that sentence, that the Davie County Board of Commissioners shall be permitted to terminate this moratorium early upon passage of a resolution by a majority vote of the board, and just retain Item 2, first sentence. This moratorium shall commence on July 6, 2026 and expire no later than July 5th, 2027.
And you as a board have the prerogative to do that. You also realize that if 8 or 10 months down the road, the board decides at that point in time that they want another vote, that you can't tie up their hands at that time, which you'll still be on the board at that time, always.
Well, maybe. But Madam Chairman, under the context of what you're saying, and I understand that.
And you can strike that.
Yeah.
That can be stricken.
I would amend to strike that sentence, and I've already read it. So that way, we keep this moratorium in effect for 12 months. We study, we get to work tomorrow. but we don't, Mr. Schoaf made a great point. The complexion of this board will change in December. And I think we want to make sure that the tone and tenor of what we all think should happen should stay in place for 12 months. And then at the end of that 12 months, we can come back and reassess. The technology's changing such that.
That is correct. And
So-
that does reflect your intent as a board at this point in time to keep it in place for 12 months.
Okay.
That way.
Madam Chairman, then I will hold this for a second because there may be other things that folks want.
So I have no problem with that suggestion, but I mean, I do want to be transparent in my question. That doesn't mean we still can't rescind it. I mean, if the majority would vote, unfortunately. I mean,
That's correct.
So
This
because-
board has the
yeah.
authority to amend ordinances at any time. And this is an ordinance.
Yeah, so, but.
Well, then I would encourage.
But it does reflect the intention.
I would encourage those that would change that in midterm to vote against it today. And
Good point.
let folks see.
Good point. I just didn't want people to be misled.
Yeah, we can't tie
So,
the hands
yeah.
of another board, and the board complexion will change in December. But I really think this would solidify our position for 12 months. So we'll just hold that for a second or two.
Commissioner Shea.
I think I want to echo the sentiments of Commissioner Jones. I think regardless if the board was going to change, I think the intent to be transparent to all you that came out tonight is that we need to commit to a 12-month moratorium, because if you're sitting here and as we all in society are skeptical, you might think, well, something may happen and they just change their minds 3 months from now, or somebody gets to them, and you don't want us to be gotten to. I think that's what I could sense from the group. So I think our intent, as much as practically possible, ought to be to stick to that year. And then if I was still on the board, then I know I've got to be held accountable by those of you out here and other citizens that what made him say those things in front of us and then go behind closed doors and call an audible. So I think the intent needs to be for the year, for the sake of the whole good, sake of the whole order, and then we're not tying anybody's hands, but obviously people are going to stay tuned and know if we try to rescind that.
And Madam Chair, you've got a motion on the floor. Need a second.
So I have a motion from
After
Commissioner
discussion.
Jones to approve the ordinance as written, striking Section 1, Item 2, the last sentence, the Davie County Board of Commissioners shall be permitted to terminate the moratorium early upon the passage of a resolution by a majority vote of the board. So I have a motion.
Without pontificating further, I would second that.
Same. All right, any other discussion? All in favor of that, signify by a raised hand. And that's unanimous. Okay, folks, if I could ask you to keep your seats for just a moment. We are almost finished. If you would give us the courtesy of a few moments of time as we have given you, we will be finished in just a few minutes because we pretty much cleared our agenda for you. But we do have a couple items we need to take care of. Mr. Barnett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In lieu of keeping things moving, I will hand out my monthly manager's report for activities that took place in the month of May. You have tonight in front of you for the month of July several consent agenda items, primarily with the budget amendments, primarily consisting of carry forwards of grants and funding from the prior fiscal year. And lastly, I'd like to report Mr. Lambert notified me this week that our old Coolamy water plant is no longer in service and that we are fully using our new water plant that we have been through the construction process with in Coolamy now to supply water to Davie County. And that's all the report I have tonight.
Thank you. That's awesome. Awesome news. Thank you, Mr. Lambert. All righty. So we are at our consent agenda. Is there any discussion or questions regarding the consent agenda tonight? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Commissioner Jones, do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Reniger, thank you. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Any old business tonight? Any new business? Okay, Commissioner comments. Commissioner Poindexter.
Thank all of you for coming tonight. This is what makes self-government work, is people show up and express their opinions. Thank you for coming out. And we'd like to see you next month at our regular meeting as well.
But we might not be here, so. Commissioner Reniger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, thank everyone for coming out this evening. This process is what's made America stand for 250 years, and hopefully we will continue for another 250. But we would have loved to see you next month. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Jones.
Madam Chairman, I've said enough. Thank y'all for coming.
Commissioner Schoaf.
Said a lot, but I want to say this, that I believe in governing from a populist sentiment, especially in county government. And trust me, your voices are being heard, and they will continue to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you. We are all truly grateful that you all show up tonight, and we are thankful for citizens who do engage and do share their opinions. We truly are. And I just, again, want to thank Dr. Belcher, Clay Harris, Principal Stone, and the Board of Education for allowing us this opportunity. Otherwise, we might not have been able to let everyone in the room, and we did not want to turn people away. And thank you to the school staff, the county staff, who had to work extra hard for all of this to happen, and for the sheriff's office for being here with us tonight, and the fire marshal's office, and all of our staff, and Robert from the newspaper. And it took a lot of work for us to do this, so if you all see these faces that help make this happen, please tell them thank you. And special thanks to the Honor Guard for sharing with us in the pledge tonight. We're so very proud of them. And folks, thank you. Have a blessed night. Please be careful. Motion to adjourn. I need a motion to adjourn. Jones, Schoaf, all in favor.
Motion to adjourn, Madam. Okay.
Yeah, we got it. I forgot to adjourn.